Hey, everybody. Good evening. This is Patti Vasquez, back in the chair today. I came in and I saw Matt Cummings, our operations manager, and I was like, I don't feel right saying Happy New Year today. I woke up very early yesterday morning. I didn't know why. Oh, I know why. Because after I actually did celebrate New Year's at midnight in Indianapolis, Jerry Walsky and I headed back to the Comedy Condo, and we ordered some late night food, and I woke up with heartburn because I'd eaten pizza and chicken wings way too late. And of course, when I wake up, I do start looking at the news. It's just a habit, and it's just the way I'm built. I know some people say you shouldn't do that, and I learned of the tragedy in New Orleans, and immediately I just thought not just of the places that I have been fortunate enough to visit in the last year and look forward to visiting again in a few weeks. I immediately thought of the people that I'd met there, in particular, thinking of the plans that people had made to go out and celebrate in one of the greatest cities in our country. And of course, my thoughts immediately went to my very good friend and her fiance, Susana Flores and Rue. And I can't even imagine. I've been communicating with Susana on and off for the last 24 hours. She had been asleep. She'd gone to bed. She had tried to get some sleep and said that she then woke up again with 26 texts and DMs asking if she was okay. She lives 2 blocks from the attack where 14 people were slaughtered in the street as they celebrated the New Year. She will be joining us tomorrow at 5 p.m. To talk about what it is like there. And we look forward to I think part of it is also processing for people like her. She lives 2 blocks away. She lives right off of Bourbon Street. And then what was, I think for a lot of folks, terrifying was then this Tesla truck that exploded in front of the Trump Tower in Las Vegas. And your mind starts thinking, well, is this sort of one of those calculated different points throughout the country? What is this going to look like? And then a lot of us are so disjointed from all of this, just thinking, well, because we have mass shootings here so frequently, there's sort of this weird numbness to it. Okay, well, someone drove their truck into it. And of course, because this country has reelected a man who lacks impulse control, he immediately went on social media and started talking about how illegals are causing all the crime, that there's an uptick in it. And both these men were American-born veterans who served in our U.S. Army. And whatever radicalization, whatever mental health, all the things that we can talk about, there is something just so disgusting and gross, I guess is the best way I can put it, for the man who is going to be in charge once again of our country, one of the most powerful countries in the world, to immediately start pointing at illegal immigrants, to point at the people that he's already targeted as the people he wants to evict from the United States. And we continue to learn about the attack, and it really kind of reveals some of the truths that we have to confront. Again, these perpetrators were not outsiders. They were U.S.-born citizens, military veterans, which is, it's a reminder that the domestic terrorism continues to be the greatest threat in this country. And whether or not they were working with ISIS, whether or not the guy in Texas was trained by them, that they, now everyone's scrolling and looking for information. There's a former CIA agent who gives interviews who says that 2025 is going to be a year of violence. So those videos are very prominent right now. So even though the former president and future president immediately tried to blame immigrants, clearly the facts tell a different story. And has he retracted any of that? Fox News at least did immediately, because they were putting up, he suspiciously crossed the Texas border, immediately making it seem as though this was someone from Mexico or from Latin America or an illegal immigrant. And look, before Rue and Susanna, my friends from New Orleans, left town, they were here over the weekend. Elliot Serrano and I had lunch with them at the Billy Goat. We talked about our plans for 2025. And I also talked about this show because Susanna Flores, we had her on the show a few times. She's a psychologist. She's a therapist. And she... I think would be very helpful to have someone like her on in 2025 and beyond as we enter this new administration. And one of the things Rue told me, Rue is from Scotland. He loves the United States. They are moving to Chicago, and I look forward to having them in town with us again. And he said one of the reasons he can't listen to talk shows like this anymore, or at least has put a pause on listening to politics, following the news, is that he's losing hope, and he wants to hear, he wants to hear rays of hope. He wants to hear stories of determination, and I think that's what we need to do. I was talking about this on stage in Indianapolis. We for years we talked about, I guess you're triggered, right? And there are things that affect us emotionally and negatively, and we are biologically wired to react to things that feel like a threat, even if it's just criticism, right? Because your brain goes, I'm in danger, right? So we feel like we are in danger. And certainly the news of yesterday, and as we head into this new administration, we feel vulnerable. So we have to look at the stories of hope. There were people in New Orleans who immediately rushed to help, of course, the first responders, and people who were the targets, who were bystanders, who were in the line of fire, whether the bullets or the truck, and they put themselves in harm's way to help other people. The medical professionals who worked tirelessly to help save lives. And the community of New Orleans, we know that the community of New Orleans is no stranger to adversity. Look at what they have been through over the last 20 years. And they have so much resilience. I know President Biden was talking about that today in his press conference. New Orleans has been through so much. And maybe because in part of the city and its openness to everyone makes it a target, right? To attacks like this, to the crimes that are there. Because we also know when I was in New Orleans, they had a lot to say about their electeds. And we really, I guess some of the things we have to talk about is what kind of policy do we want to talk about? Because we do have to talk about the gaps in mental health for our military servicemen and women, right? Every service member deserves comprehensive care when they return home. I got an email over the weekend from my friend Paul Varvar, who told me that there is a veteran who is homeless and cannot get placement with the VA. What are we doing? I thought that MAGA was all about waving the flag and supporting our troops. We need to have conversations about smart security. Somebody asked me because, they asked about the barricades in New Orleans, and I know this has been a focus for a lot of folks. They had taken down their street bollards. I never knew how to pronounce that, but they were replacing them for the Super Bowl. So the barricades that they generally have had over the however many years were not there. They had temporary movable gates. They did not, because when we were there were hydraulic gates, like heavy metal barricades. The other thing is, I don't know that makes a difference when someone's going to drive up on the sidewalk, right? And he had a gun, was clearly there to do as much damage. His car was also, they have found IEDs. So they were gearing up they're gearing up for the Super Bowl, folks. But we do need to talk about smart security measures in our public spaces. Infrastructure investments. We've talked about that for a long time. It's not just about convenience. It is about safety. And we have to remember, regardless of what community we discover, for anybody that whether it is a shooter in a school, because we know that it has been many young white men shooting after shooting, and then there was a young Latino in Texas at Uvalde. We know that this attacker, again, was American born, but the knee-jerk reaction was to blame immigrants. And it doesn't serve anybody. That was coming out right away. Or even, like, I guess this guy donated $20 over 6 years to act blue to support Democratic candidates, and that's enough reason for people to go, see, it was the liberals, but of course then the guy in Vegas, he was a big Trumper and MAGA. So what purpose does it serve to say? And I know that we do that too, and I feel like people go, I hope it's one of them, I hope it's somebody else, I hope it's not someone from our tribe, but our tribe is humanity. That's who we should be thinking about and uplifting and wanting to protect, and rather than rushing to find what other group of people we can point the finger at. And we have to really remember that the strength of this country does lie in our democracy, and it doesn't feel that way sometimes, especially when we have corporations and billionaires. You've got this guy, Musk, who just sees Americans as his cash cow. He put out a tweet the other day saying that we have to have whatever the visas are for skilled workers to come into the United States because it's too expensive to train Americans. What the frickin' frack? But it is the resilience of our democracy and how we respond to these challenges. And everybody, people who are coming together in New Orleans, we saw this after 9/11. It didn't matter what your religion was, what your ethnic background was. We were all, remember, we've talked about this in the weeks and months after 9/11, how we had that sense of being in this together. And then in the years since, man, we have never been so far, we've never been further apart. Let me take a break here and take your phone calls. And we do have to know that we are in this together. And as we process this, the tragedy, we have to channel our grief and anger into constructive action. We have to advocate for better mental health resources. We have to build stronger, more resilient communities. And we have to resist those who will use this tragedy to sow more division. So let's take a break here and continue our conversation on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. I'm glad that you're here.
Choose Views with Richard Chew.
This is who the country is. It just proved it when 75 plus million people voted for all of these things that are counter and hypocritical to what the country actually says that it stands for. They say that they think the country's better than this. This is not who we are. We can't be that way. But in fact, they leaned into it with both shoulders.
Richard Chew, weekday mornings at 6 on WCPT 820.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
We do have the phone lines open if you want to give us a call. And, of course, our text line is also open, 773-763-9278. That's the number for both the text line and for the phone line. And, we are in this together. Dan, thank you for your text. I appreciate that. And that was from the 773 and the 708. I want to get to the phone lines. Jim is in Chicago. Hey, Jim. I'm happy to hear your voice. How you doing, my friend?
Hi, Patty. All I can say is the nature of Trump and Musk are identical. They tried to use that incident in Vegas as a commercial for his product, and Trump Jr. trying to tie it to this ridiculous blow-up in Vegas near the Trump Tower. So there's no disaster that these vapid individuals will not use they think it's going to give more publicity. It's amazing. 15 dead people down in New Orleans. How many people's spines are crushed? We don't even know anything about it.
Right.
This was a lone wolf. Patty.
Right.
This is just a lunatic lone wolf. And Musk and Trump are trying. They're going to be the president of the United States for the next 4 years, trying to take advantage of his family as we sell $2 bills. He can sell more $2 bills and pieces of his suit with no compunctions about human feeling or the way humans feel about people being mowed down on a street in New Orleans. It's just, it's beyond anything anybody could imagine, especially somebody taking the oath of office, which he doesn't respect at all, because we know January 6th is coming up fast, and he certainly has no respect for the United States or or anybody that fought for the United States or anybody who died for the United States. And he certainly doesn't have it now. And Musk, the nerve of Musk to say that, trying to tie this to his repulsive organization, and they put this ugly mug on TV every time he opens his dirty, rotten mouth. Yep. They put that ugly face on TV. I'm like, what is this? What are we being cowed by the media to a point where we can't even distinguish what our real feelings are and what America was and is and will be once we get rid of this lunatic? But just to take advantage of a situation like this is so repulsive that I can't even begin to articulate it. It's
I feel the same way. I know. I'm feeling the same way today. That's why I had to write down some thoughts. I was trying to pull it all together. It's just I didn't want to come on here. I have so many emotions. I was telling Matt Cummings, I'm like, do we say Happy New Year? I mean, I don't know how to feel with all of this going on at the same time.
No, there's nothing happy about this New Year. There's nothing. This individual and his family and Ramaswamy and Musk, who want to take the bureaucrats, what they're going to do to the poor people, 1 million or 2 of them that they fire. But my point is they're doing it for their own advantage. No compunction about these poor people that died. They haven't even put anybody on yet that who died, what young kids died. Think of it, Patty. That was a Notre Dame and Georgia game. Now, if I was down in New Orleans, I'd probably be out on the street too at 3 o'clock. I'm a Notre Dame fan all my life. I missed the games in 1966. So I can imagine on New Year's, I'd be out on the street myself, cheering for Notre Dame. And they haven't even. But what have we got? The news media's turned it into the way Trump and his family, what they responded to it, and Musk, how they responded to it. Who cares how they responded to it? It's absolutely, our media is, I don't know, that's hungry for money that they can't even report the honest-to-God truth anymore? Is that where we're at in the United States of America?
I know.
It is.
I know someone was messaging earlier, I think, about the AP News. I didn't hear the AP News today. I'm not sure what they reported that someone had a bone to pick with, but I've heard things that I'm just like, what? Whether it's on all the news outlets and what they're choosing to highlight and put the headlines and how they frame things.
It's repulsive. In the meantime, if they talked about January 6th, are they going to bring up that again? Are they going to show us where he says, if you don't rush the Capitol, you'll never have a country again? Or how about this? What is he going to Musk and Ramaswamy and him are going to yes and yearn for the 72 million MAGA people that voted for him? What about the rest of the country? What about us?
Yeah, really.
What are we supposed to be?
We're just we are just the we're just the cash cow for him to pad the rest of his. I don't know how much more he needs. Yeah.
He's a commercial with these people. Everything is. He's selling $2 bills. He's selling Bibles. He's selling pieces of. What kind of a president of the United States would do that if they had any honor for the office that he's stepping into? He doesn't have any, obviously. But the way that the media played this was just horrendous. And today they found he's a lone wolf. Yesterday was ISIS and whatever else they could dream up. In the meantime, Musk jumps in on it, and so does Trump, and Trump's son.
Yep.
How do you jump in a tragedy of this magnitude?
Exactly.
I have no idea, Patty. I know you were in New Orleans. I don't know, sweetheart. Can you go down there again? I don't know.
I am. I'm going back.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm going back I'll be there on the 20th. I'm going back. Here's the thing, Jim, I'll be really honest with you. I plan to spend 3 days perfectly numb starting on the day of the inauguration. I'm going to New Orleans. Just saying.
You better believe it.
Yeah, I'm not going to be covering. I won't be covering the inauguration. I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to be at the Absinthe House. They've got a speakeasy in the old Absinthe House.
Yeah. I'll be in a cave. Anyway, Patty, thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for bringing the laugh. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it.
Bye.
I kind of feel bad taking this call. I feel bad when it's Bobby and Jim because Dwayne always wants to check in on our friends, Jim and Bobby from Indiana. Hey, Bobby, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, Patsy, that you?
Yeah.
I have not.
Yeah, you even called it a bit.
I've not been able to talk to you in a long time. I get locked out by the station because they shut the tower down after.
Because of the. Do you have access to to a computer, to Wi-Fi? Because you can watch us on.
I'm lucky. I've got access to anything at all anymore, and it's getting worse. So.
Well, as the sunshine comes back, as the days get longer, it'll be easier.
That was it. For the first time since 1931, on Monday, I was listening to Joan's show, and she had that, was it John St. Augustine?
Oh, yeah.
Was on?
That was a good conversation, wasn't it?
That was a good show, and what got me was I got to look and I said, hey, it's almost 5 o'clock, and I'm still hearing this thing.
Yep.
So I hung on, and then I got to the news, and praise the wall. The next thing I do is I hear you, but I didn't hear the song because you were.
Yeah, I didn't want to start the show that way. Yeah.
Yeah, you were the reflective Patty.
Yes.
And because of the Carter situation, and then I got a half hour of that, then blip off everything went. But
that's weird. As it gets darker, right? At
least I got a half hour of it, so I said ha 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 ha. And
I'm glad you did.
So I was happy about that. But this current mess, and I was talking to Miss B, and I said, he blames it on me. Well, he would. If it weren't immigrants, he would blame it on Martians or anything but the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, which is rare, but I do.
Come
on. For at least the next 4 years, I think it ought to be a policy of WCPT hosts and hostesses not to use the name or term president when talking about Trump.
Okay, just
or to play clips of his voice.
I'm not. We are trying to find. We're trying to find an audio filter that makes him sound like a whining toddler every time, in case we do want to focus on some of his.
That would be lovely.
Yeah.
That would be lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And he hates being called Donald.
Donald. Okay.
So if you want to, I would say just say Donald this, Donald that, or Donnie.
Okay.
Or he loves his German heritage.
Drumpf.
So I prefer Donnie von Poopstains. That's mine, but you can come up with your own. But we should not give him any kind of recognition, certainly not presidential, because
I know.
If you want to call him acting president, because he is a piss poor actor in that role.
Yeah.
As you noticed. I think that certainly WCPT folk should not give him the time. You got all the networks and the Foxes and Schmoxes, all of them, they're going to be up his rectum like, thermometers. And why do we have to give him good airtime?
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm. But that's just my idiotic way of thinking. And
oh, come on now!
By God, I'm sticking with it.
Appreciate it, Bobby. And you're not idiotic. I'm so glad to hear from you. I'm glad to hear you're doing okay.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're still out there, and I'm glad to hear Miss B is feeling better, and I hope Joan will be full of piss and vinegar when she gets back.
There you go. I'm sure she will.
When you hear her tap her pencil or whatever she has on the table.
Oh boy! Yep.
And she gets that cadence in her voice. Kids, you better listen.
Look out.
You better listen.
That's
listen
right.
to the lady.
That's right.
So
well, take care
to all of the ladies of WCPT.
Appreciate that. We need
you.
We need you, Bobby. Look forward to hearing from you again. You take care of yourself, okay?
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Let's see. I'm not sure if you saw this someone just texted. I'm not sure if you saw this about a large seizure of explosives. I'm very grateful to the FBI, and I do hope Donald doesn't destroy it. Yeah. I know that there were IEDs, there were explosives found, not just, I think, in the vehicle. And now I'm getting folks who are, the FBI said the largest seizure. Oh, this is the guy in Virginia, right? Was this a guy in Virginia? There's a guy in Virginia. This was something that was something that didn't seem to make a big blip. And a lot of folks are wondering if it's because, it's just a white farmer. But it's the largest seizure of explosive in the history of in the home of a Virginia man who was using photographs of President Joe Biden as target practice. And it gets worse. Brad Kenneth Spalford, the man in question, was arrested on December 17th and charged with violating the National Firearms Act after a neighbor tipped off authorities. By the way, his lawyers are trying to get him out on bail because they're like, well, he's never really been a bad boy before. He has the largest collection of explosives ever confiscated by the FBI. That's enough. I think the judge better. Oh, anyway. Over 150 homemade explosives described as pipe bombs were found inside a house and garage situated on 20 acres on his farm. 6 of the explosives were uncovered inside a backpack with a patch that said "No Lives Matter." Okay. And here's the thing. If there's one, there's more. But again, Donald went on social media yesterday and said that we have an uptick in violence because of illegal immigrants, which is not the case at all, quantifiably so. Let's take a break here. I've got more phone calls to get to. I'm looking forward to talking to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us as we drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
There's no better way to defend democracy in front of your fascist Republican friends than with a cold progressive beer from the Minocqua Brewing Company of Wisconsin. So head on over to Beer on the Wall in Schaumburg, Doty Liquors in Elmhurst, Captain Jack's Beverages in Worth, or the Wilmette Market to pick up a 4-pack or couple 2-3 of MAGA Tears IPA today. Don't forget to drink and vote responsibly.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. And we're taking your calls. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we're going to talk to Mike Crowley. We're going to change gears quite a bit and talk about his top movies of 2024 as we head into all the award seasons and things like that. Joining us right now, we've got calls coming in. We got Max in North Carolina. Hey, Max. Thanks so much for calling. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hi. Happy New Year. Like what you were saying earlier, I'm sort of like, okay, well, when you started to talk, we're not going to come together to our government, the people that we vote into office, starts actually doing the right thing for the American people. We know how many people, most of the people, I work for a company, a couple of companies in France, but they own companies over here, so I travel a lot, okay? And a lot of the places that, I'm talking to these these companies look really good, and the people, as I'm talking to them, they're like in debt. They have an education, and they're not in debt because they're buying all these fancy things. They can't afford a home.
Right.
They're still paying for their schools, which that could be just washed away if our government wanted to do that. And then I've read that we still have 100,000. Well, this is in 2005, and I'm pretty sure the first time that this number came out was in 1998, when it said that we had 100,000 Americans dying of overdoses from that that medicine that they were getting from their doctors, and the doctors were that they were selling it for profit.
Yep.
Well, these people are still making profit off of killing children, and our government is still just talking about it but not doing anything about it because Wall Street needs to make that money. And then the other thing is that, as we all know, we're starving children in Gaza. We're bombing children in Gaza, and don't read the numbers about the 47,000 dead. There's over 200,000 that we think that are dead now. Remember, they dropped more bombs than Nagasaki, 4 times than that nuclear bomb. They dropped more tonnage of TNT on Gaza than we dropped on Nagasaki, 4 of them. If we dropped 4 bombs, that's how many bombs we dropped on those people there. And we're just standing around while these people, they're actually making money off of this.
Right.
But we as a society are putting up with it. We're basically putting up with our children dying of overdoses and us not.
I know.
Somebody else's child, and then this over there, and then all these people over there, over 600,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed already, and more of them are going to die if we keep giving these people weapons to basically stand up against a country. This is like Mike Tyson fighting a child. You know, I hate to say that, but this is what it's like. And Russia is Mike Tyson. And Ukrainian, unfortunately, is a child, and he's beating the hell out of them. You know, and I know people over there. I know people in Ukraine, and I know people over there in Russia. I travel a lot, and I actually done work for a company in Russia like 30 years ago. I work on sailboats, so I basically done some work for them for when they actually wanted to race in the American Cup in San Diego in California in '92. So I met people. I know people over there. I know what's happening. I have friends over there that go to Ukraine and stuff like that. And I actually was in Barcelona for like 3 months, and I was talking to people from Ukraine and Russia there, and about how we Americans need to rebuild their country for destroying it. You know, and doing all this damage so we could break Russia up, you know, and Wall Street can make more profit. We need to get away from that and start helping the American people, start educating them so they can move up and buy a home and stuff like that. And we're not doing that, and our government is not helping us do that. And that's what we need to do to come together. If we could do that, we could all start coming together, hopefully, and start changing the United States so we could change the world in a better place, not for profit, for the welfare of people.
Well, I'm glad that folks like you don't want to give up and that you're thinking about these things, and that we have to keep having the conversation, Max. I'm so glad that you tune in.
And thank you for taking my call.
Of course. Okay. All right, be well. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's get to, I love when Auntie Sherry calls me. Dwayne's coming back, I promise. We'll have Adam on soon, too. How you doing, Auntie Sherry in Nevada?
I'm doing. Happy New Year, sweetheart. Thank you so much. If you don't get Dwayne back on, I'm gonna stop listening. No, sweetheart. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I know.
Your show is the lifeline for me and my sanity and folks that I can talk to. Our country has been the beacon of democracy forever. I mean, think of all the people that fought and died for us to have a democracy that works for the most part, everyone. Okay? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, right now, we have a white South African billionaire who is running our country.
Yep.
He is running our country. He and Trump are going to leave our country as a scorched earth. They are going to use whatever political strategy or chess playing to make as much money as they can for the next 4 years. And I'm sure Donald will probably go to Russia and live in his Trump Tower.
Yeah.
That is what's going on. They are going to rape, pillage, and plunge our country.
Yep.
And a lot of people are just, I don't think that's going to happen. Oh, come on. This has happened before. And he, think about it. He was willing to let our country just shut down. Mm-hmm. Which means that all of the necessary all the necessary agencies that we needed to keep this country going. He says, okay, fine, who cares? Because I want my debt ceiling. He is going to leave us a scorched earth. And I don't know if anybody in any other country that believes in democracy would look to us as a beacon of light. And it's just so unfortunate. It's like, I am so glad that my mother, who died at 92, didn't have to live through whatever, through the horrors of, dealing with, the South and segregation and slavery. She didn't have to live through this again because it's starting all over again.
Auntie, it's terrifying. No, it's terrifying. I feel this. It's hard because my mother is 90, and she's kind of vacillating between. She wants to go back to Mexico. So we're trying to convince her to stay here, but it's hard to say that everything's going to be okay.
I know. I know, and what I don't get is okay. Let me go back. Everybody goes, it's the messaging, it's the this, it's the that, and people have, they're going along with, whatever Trump says. But Patty, it's an individual choice.
Yeah,
it's a choice. You don't have to believe what he's saying, but it is an individual choice. I listened to, what is he's a young, Joan has been filling for him and for her rather. And is it Brock? No, I can't remember his name, but he's great. He's a professor or whatever, and he talks about Trump's his strategy and all that good stuff. And he goes, it's fascinating. No, it's not fascinating.
No, it's terrifying.
It's horrifying.
Yes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kind of legitimizes it with this, what's fascinating because he's doing this. And no, it's not fascinating. Well, it's horrifying.
I will say this, for some folks, the way they approach having these conversations, some of them are more grounded, whether it's in being professors of poli-sci, right? So they're kind of, they have to have a different approach and not as filled with commentary, and they understand it and might be still resistant to putting out their sort of perspective on it and infusing it with their opinions. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas I don't have that restriction. I mean,
I understand that. So are you telling me that they're concerned about their accreditation.
Some people, it's not.
In face of losing our democracy.
I know. Some people you can't shake loose. I don't know that it's a fear thing. I don't know that it's necessarily a fear thing. It might seriously just be the way they communicate. It's been so many years of doing it one way, and for some people it takes a long time. Like there are journalists, people who run newsrooms who don't even vote at all because they don't want to have any sort of bias. Not that we're having that trouble anymore, it seems, because the overlay on top of that are now corporations and things like that. Where the money's coming from. But there are people who, when they communicate, and truly might be fascinated with the effectiveness of how they did it. For me, it's not fascinating. It's horrifying to me that Americans they choose. It's like they choose. It's like they choose to be tricked into it, right?
And unfortunately, sweetheart, it's sanitizing.
Yes,
it's sanitizing what is going on, and people that's kind of the intellectuals, they pretty much know what's going on. Yeah, that's fine, but the undercurrent of what the policy that they're disputing is like it's terrifying, it's destructive, and it's hurtful, and I don't know, but then again, sweetheart, I know you got other callers.
Oh, it's okay. I'm just sharing. It's good to hear. No, I want to go back to something you brought up because I immediately wanted to do a little quick search because you mentioned the fact that Elon Musk, who grew up in apartheid South Africa until he was 17.
Hello.
Not just that, it gets worse and scarier. And I don't think it would have mattered if anybody had, because some people clearly were trying to ring the alarm bell months and months ago about who was behind a lot of the financial aspects and the messaging aspects. It's not just Elon Musk. It's also David Sachs, the venture capitalist who is a fundraiser for Donald Trump and a troll of Ukraine, left at age 5. He grew up in South African diaspora they left South Africa, but he lived in Tennessee where their sort of racial bias and understanding continued. Peter Thiel, who spent years of his childhood in South Africa and where his father was involved in uranium mining as part of the apartheid regime, right, in their drive to acquire nuclear weapons. And Paul Ferber, an obscure South African software developer and tech journalist living in Johannesburg, has been identified by 2 teams of forensic linguists as the originator of the QAnon conspiracy, which helped shape Trump's MAGA movement, right? So that, yeah. So when you think about remember all the people are like, the black people are coming to get us. There's going to be a race war, the genocide, all this stuff.
Absolutely.
Those are all of the architects of this campaign that was success. Because then you also have a black woman running.
I know.
Yep.
I know. Patty, excuse me, right?
Yep.
I am so thankful for letting me voice, some of my, concerns and my terror through your platform, because I can't do it with Joan. I can't do it with Tom Hartman. I can't do it with who's the brother early in the morning, Richard True. You're the only one who just kind of looks at both sides, and if not both sides, it's like the entire spectrum of what is going on, and I'll end it with you. People have a choice. They either believe what Trump is saying or Musk is saying, or they don't. It is a choice. Yeah. It's not like, the messaging was this, the messaging was that. Mm-hmm. Nonsense. It is a choice. Yep. So we can't blame it on, who didn't do this or Kamala didn't do that or whatever. It is the people, and they have a choice, and they chose to believe whatever Donald Trump and Elon Musk were saying. Love you, sweetheart.
Love
Thank
you,
you
Auntie
so
Sherry.
much for letting me sweet.
Auntie, of course. And Auntie Sherry, Dwayne Kennedy will be on for the last 3 days of January, filling in to host for me when I'm in Los Angeles.
Cool and the gang. I will listen. I listen whenever.
Thank you.
Listen whenever. Thank you so much, sweetheart, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Auntie Sherry. We'll talk to you later. Be well, my friend.
You too, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Of course, now Auntie Sherry sent me down this rabbit hole of the South African apartheid children who are now in their 50s running our country. Oh, boy. Of course they don't want any intervention when it comes to racism. Of course they want to prop that up as a system. Okay, let's take a break here. Take a deep breath. Like Auntie Sherry said, I look at a lot of things. I had not seen this article. If you want to look for it, it's a piece it's in Financial Times. It's from September 19th, earlier in 2024. It's a piece by Simon Cooper. That's Kuper, and he writes about this South African cabal. They were all young people who grew up under apartheid and now are in their 50s running our country. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive home. We're going to change gears at 6 o'clock. After the 6 o'clock news, we're going to talk to Mike Crowley. You'll probably agree, reviewer of all the movies that we're talking about. He's going to give us his list of his favorite movies of 2024. So we'll talk about those flicks when we come back after that news. But right now, I'm looking at a picture of myself on a screen that Myrna sent me when I was talking about the title for my previous show at another station, which was Pretty Late. And you know what's funny about this picture that you sent me, Myrna, is that I'm wearing right now Invisalign. And I think that picture really kind of shows the reason why. So that big gap between my top teeth, my bottom teeth are all out of whack, a little janky. And that's all. That's why sometimes you'll hear me I'll stop because I'm it's hard for me to wrap my lips around these braces, but it's so funny. I'm 53 years old wearing braces, folks. And Myrna reminded me why. So I took a picture of that picture. So.
You know, I don't remember what it was. It was a video of you went to some event.
I was at the county. That looks like the county fair in Springfield.
And
the state fair. The state fair maybe in Springfield. No?
There was something right after that spot that I was trying to get a screenshot of, and I kept hitting screenshot, nothing. And that was the best picture out of all of the ones that I screwed up. So I said, I have to save this because I know one day I'm going to have to send it to her for some reason or other.
The Pretty Late, yeah. It's really almost my nostrils are all flared and my bangs are all out of whack. My glasses look too big. You're yeah, Pretty Late with Patti Vasquez. I'll tell you something. How you doing, Myrna? How's your year starting off?
Interesting. Yeah, I was talking to Lady B. I'm just reading right now about there's a really cool campaign about getting Elon Musk deported because of the 2 violations that he committed. Came in 1995, supposed to be a student, so he had a student visa. He never enrolled in classes. He ended up working with his brother on a startup. So he violated the 2 violations are because that he didn't study, he didn't take any courses, and he was working on a student visa.
Oh.
So I say that maybe Joe Biden can kind of deport him, maybe, sort of, or he leaves. But that's one thing. The other thing, you guys were talking earlier about how there's always a thing about when a crime's committed, they always want to dump it on a migrant.
Oh, yeah.
It means that the media is going out of their way to make sure that they say a Hispanic, a Mexican-American, a person from Honduras. How come you never hear them say, this shooter was an Irish-American, or he's a Polish-American, or a German-American? It's always a Mexican-American, an El Salvadorian from, who's now naturalized. The media is just contributing to that. And it's up to them to stop doing that, because they're the ones who are feeding this fuel to the fire.
Mm-hmm.
If they continue with that, they're the ones to blame for more and more racism in this country. We already have enough. We don't need more. And that's all that they're doing, is just adding on to what already exists in this country.
I agree with you. I think that because, whether it's in social media or on, mainstream media, all the different places where people get their news, the thing is that illegal, undocumented immigrants commit crime. Like, I think it's such a fraction of what a native-born Americans commit crimes, because they're under much more scrutiny. They have a microscope on them. Right. It's complete scapegoating. And it's not
exactly.
And here's the thing: I don't know. I'm not following any mainstream media about the attacks. Really, I'm kind of getting bits and pieces. I'm only reading in print. Like that for me, that's where I'm going now. I'm reading more written stories to get the news there, rather than watching the videos and listening to like the tone that people. When I was at the other station, when I was at WGN, and I don't know if you remember this. But, I have to go. Well, we'll figure it out. But we had I don't know if you remember a newsman I had. Overnights with us, and he would inject not just commentary and tone into his news broadcast, because he was a Trumper, right? Yeah. He was a Republican, and then he would start arguing with me during my segments, and I was like, dude, you're the newsman. This is not, like, you're top and bottom. That's the news. Anything I'm commentary. I am not a news source. So for people to hear what you're so now we know what point of view you're writing from. Stop.
He did that a few times after you left, too.
Oh, no, he wasn't there. He got let go before I did. So that was somebody else you're thinking of. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They got, and you know what's interesting about that? A worse reason for, he was doing things like on the air that were worse than what I was doing, and professionally was worse than I was. Nobody ever knew what any of that was. I mean, dude passed out in the station manager's office because he was too inebriated to drive home. I'm just saying. I should probably go before I talk too much.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Just saying. Just not for nothing. But no, I got a big old Robert Feeder piece on me. I got like a Turkey of the Year award for getting fired the way I did. Anyway, thanks, Myrna. Thanks for the memories. Take care. Thanks, Myrna. Bye. Let's take a quick break here. We'll come back and I got receipts, folks. But just a girl of color. Let's take a break. We'll come back with Mike Crowley. You'll probably agree. Reviews after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you for joining us as we drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, and I want to say hello to our friends listening in the evenings on KTNF AM 950. And if you want to catch the first hour of our show, and that's for anybody, if you miss any part of the show, you can find all of our shows podcast on Apple, on Spotify. Of course, this show is broadcast live on TuneIn. If you, or you can also catch, our show on Heartland Signal, as well as our live stream on Facebook and YouTube. And we're broadcasting live from WCPT 820 Heartland Signal Studios in Chicago. And thank you for joining us wherever you are in the world. I want to say hello to Allison, who says that she loves our shows. And I appreciate that, Allison. She sent a message to Richard, to me. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And because and I know Joan was off, so Joan, I believe, will be back next week. She has Eric Zorn filling in for her tomorrow. And I do have another gift card to give away I have one more gift card to give away for our friends from Fry the Coop have generously given us a gift, and I'll give that away later on in the hour for our listeners who are tuning in live. So now you should tune in live. If you get a chance, you can win a gift card. Joining me in studio right now to change gears a little bit from our conversation. Again, if you want to hear a conversation about what the attacks in New Orleans and what our thoughts are about the new year, please check out the podcast on your preferred podcast podcast platforms. Now we're going to switch gears to movies because we are heading into, we of course ended the year. We didn't have a chance to have Mike Crowley on to tell us what his top movies of 2024 were. And I think that the best time to do it is the day after New Year's.
Yeah.
So hey, Mike Crowley, you'll probably agree
how's
with
it going?
It's going all right. You know, it's great.
I always say, like, people always kind of joke with me, your show should be called You'll Probably Not Agree. And I'm like, well, how about it's called You'll Hopefully Agree? Like,
You'll hopefully agree.
That way it's not saying, like, outright, yeah, you're agreeing with my opinion.
Well, I think that there's something in what you do that you can grab something and agree with it.
Yeah.
You'll probably agree with something.
Yeah, you'll probably agree with one thing I have to say about this review, at least.
There you go. So, how many movies did you choose for your list? You did your top 10?
I chose 10. Yeah,
okay.
I did 10. Yeah. It was a crowded year. There were a lot of good movies. Mm-hmm. It's always funny. Like, the regular movie season, like, most of the year, like, nothing's happening. January, February, March. Those are, like, your dead seasons. Then you get, your fun blockbusters during the summer. But it's always, like, September through December is like when all the like Oscar stuff goes in, and like every week you're just like, oh, that was the best movie I saw this year. Oh wait, no, that was the best movie I saw. So it was hard choosing between all of them, but I luckily was able to narrow them down, and kind of some made it on the list and some got removed from the list. So yeah, like Nosferatu almost made it on the list, but then I looked back and I'm like, yeah, that movie didn't really scare me though, Like, it was very well shot, well acted. The sound's amazing. The score's great. But it was just kind of like, yeah, this Dracula doesn't really terrify. I had trouble understanding what Dracula was saying in it, because he speaks so slowly in the film.
Who plays Dracula?
Bill Skarsgård.
Okay, one of the Skarsgård family.
Yeah, he's no Gary Oldman, but then again, Gary Oldman's like one of the best actors of our generation.
No joke.
How can you live up to that?
Have you ever seen Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead?
No, that was
Tim Roth. It's Tim Roth and Gary Oldman.
Oh,
amazing! It's from the 80s. I saw that when I was in college, and it is I can't remember the playwright's name, because he does all like the sort of the sort of humorous takes on Shakespeare. Like he did I did a performance of 15-minute Hamlet one time.
Oh,
it was
15-minute Hamlet.
I played Ophelia. It was so much fun.
Oh,
yeah.
I can imagine that's fun. Just people are dying so fast and then coming back and.
I did a running jump onto Hamlet, and like in a very sort of like oversexed way, and he's like, "Get thee to a nunnery." It was so fun. It was one of my favorite performances I ever did. Plus, it's only 15 minutes, and I had 3 lines.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. The best. That's the best one. Yeah. But you got the funny lines. That's the main thing.
So much fun.
Yeah. I'm just guessing they do To Be or Not to Be like in the quick succession, like To Be or Not to Be. I don't know the rest of it. Nobody knows the rest of it. To Be or Not to Be.
What's weird is I forget how many times Hamlet. Mel Gibson played Hamlet. Like,
yeah, he directed a Hamlet movie. I think he started.
Weird.
I don't know if he directed it or not. I gotta check.
It's Tom Stoppard, by the way. It was gonna make me crazy if I didn't.
Tom Stoppard,
really good playwright. Anyway, but yes, Mel Gibson directed Hamlet as well. Yeah, weird to think of that.
I know. He's a good actor. He's just crazy.
Yeah,
really crazy. So
he's got a lot of charisma. So Bill Skarsgård plays Dracula.
Count Orlok, as they call him in the film, because the movie's sort of it's inspired from the book, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it's inspired from the short film Nosferatu, and they kind of put both elements together. It's a lot of sequences where women are having convulsions while dreaming about. It's like they're going through an exorcism when they're dreaming about Dracula, or I should say Count Orlok. I always had trouble when writing this movie keeping the names, the names are for the movie, because the names in the movie are different from the names of the book. So Jonathan Harker isn't Jonathan Harker, Dracula. Van Helsing isn't Van Helsing, which one of my friends, Katie Glidewell, who's a Chicago film critic, she pointed out that Willem Dafoe's performance in it was really phoned in, and I had to agree. It's he just kind of went in there, he did a goofy voice, and everyone there was yeah, that's great, keep it in. and then that was the film.
I wonder if there's an element of, well, it's Willem Dafoe and he wants to try something experimental, so let's just go with it and see how it turns out.
Yeah. They're like, you can do no wrong.
Post.
Yeah. You could. I mean, some voices, it's amazing. Like the way they did Darth Vader's voice for that Obi-Wan TV show, they had James Earl Jones do the voice, like, while he was still alive, and then they would go through like digital trickery. I think they used an AI to mix his voice with like a younger version, so he sounded like the Vader we all know.
Right.
And it sounded flawless. Like, it was incredible. I'm like, oh yeah, that's how he sounds. Because you hear Vader in Rogue One, he sounds older.
Right.
He's just like, oh, General Critic, where's my back pills? And like, what the hell? And he makes and he does make a joke in the film, which was weird.
Yeah,
Darth Vader making a joke.
I agree. That was weird.
Yeah, he was like choking the guy who was like one of the guys in charge of the Death Star, and he just goes, you should be sure not to choke on your aspirations.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. It's not part of the rules.
Yeah. Darth Vader is not supposed to have a sense of humor.
No.
I mean, ever since he burnt himself and lost his wife and lost his kids, I don't think he's very happy.
No,
not a happy guy. He's a big sucker. He's an idiot. I can't believe he fell for all that stuff the Emperor said. Like, the dark side's gonna bring your wife back. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but look how the country voted. So it's hard to say.
Exactly. Anakin Skywalker's dumb. Like, he's a good, like, if you've seen the Clone Wars, he's a great war strategist and he's a great leader. But man, oh man, by the movies standards, the George Lucas movies, he's really like just a he's very easy to trick.
And it's funny, I've become very burned out. I mean, there's some things, I kind of want to see the Acolyte. I know we've gone off into Star Wars territory.
That's all right.
But Mandalorian, like, I like some of them, but man, like, I never got into Clone Wars and things like that. Just, my husband likes, there's one, well, at any rate, there's a whole universe. Maybe we'll do a whole conversation sometime about this, this Star Wars universe.
Which was, universe.
The first three, I think I would have lived happily for the rest of my life to never see those characters. I would have been fine to never learn more about the universe. Right, to go back, because I really did not like 1, 2, and 3. I did not, but we can talk about that.
Yeah, I did like 3, like, because so much happens in it. I didn't like. I was cringing at most of the dialogue scenes.
Yeah,
but it's just so much happens in it. Like, imagine if you went into the Revenge of the Sith and you had no idea what was going to happen.
Exactly,
you'd be like, "Oh my god, he kills kids in it. He gets burnt alive.
Right?
Yeah, the younglings get killed. Yeah,
it's a lot. Well, let's go back to our list. So, Nosferatu is your alternate. That's like, it didn't make the top 10, but it was a good movie to see this year.
Oh, like which one? Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see. There were some that. What was the Jesse Eisenberg one? That one was pretty good. A Real Pain is what it was called.
A Real Pain.
Yeah, and it was about him going to Poland with his like annoying cousin, and basically they want to like get the house that their grandmother left to them. As I can vaguely remember, I might be getting my details wrong there. And it was really about
with Kieran Culkin.
Yeah. I didn't find this out until recently. Kieran Culkin was one of the kids in Home Alone. I think his name was. It's not. I want to say Fuzz.
But Macaulay Culkin's brother was played one of the other siblings.
Yeah, and he's his real life brother too.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think he actually is a real pain in that movie. Not as much as Kevin.
Yeah, apparently. no, he's not. Well, I mean Kevin was kind of a genius,
Have you seen there was a commercial? I think it was like an Uber driver, and Macaulay Culkin's in the back seat, and he gets a call. His mom's calling, and he just forwards it to voicemail.
Yeah,
and the driver's like, "That's really cold, man." And he goes off on this whole thing about how he's still traumatized from her leaving him behind, and he didn't even notice. He had to fight off these
twice.
Yeah, he had to fight off these attacks. Anyway, it's quite funny.
That's pretty good.
So, A Real Pain is one of the movies that you would play.
Yeah, that was one of the movies that almost made it, but didn't quite make it. Nosferatu almost made it, but didn't quite make it. Gosh.
What's the Demi Moore movie? Did that one make it in your list?
I'll tell you where it is.
Okay, a little bit?
It'll take a while to get to that one. But
well, let's move along. Let me take a break
it's high
here.
Up there.
Let's take a break here and find out what Mike Crowley's top 10 movies are of the year. We told you a couple that didn't make it. Nosferatu, A Real Pain. Did you have a couple others that you wanted before we go to the break?
Not on top of my head.
Okay, so those look really interesting. Real Pain looks like it's in my wheelhouse, too. Let's take a break here, continue our conversation with why YPAReviews.com's movie critic, Mike Crowley.
Yeah.
And we'll give you some movies to watch as we head into the head out of the holiday season and into the award season.
Yeah.
More after this on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Hey, it's Patty here, reminding you that Minocqua Brewing Company's progressive beers like Maga Tears IPA, Biden Beer, and the LGBTQ-inspired Love Wins Fruited Sour are now available at Chicagoland locations like Armanetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Beer Shop in Oak Park, McLean Liquors in South Elgin, Beer on Central in Evanston, and My Buddies, a pride-friendly bar on Clark in Chicago. Don't forget to drink and vote responsibly.
You know what? Let me add a little bit more to that, because I know that we have we appreciate all of our fans. I know I have some copy here for Minocqua Brewing Company that Jerry gave me, and I forgot to I didn't have a chance to record that. So we really do appreciate your support of the show, as well as show sponsor Minocqua Brewing Company, which ensures that our important conversations continue right here on WCPT 820 each weekday from 5 to 7. And you can now find there's new beers. Mike Crowley, I know you said you still have Biden beer.
I still got the Biden beer in my fridge. I don't know if it's still good or not.
It's definitely still good.
Oh, okay.
So here's the thing. Those are, you have one of the last, because we no longer carry those. So I apologize for running that ad and not updating it yet. But because we now have, and I'll send you home with one, we have a Resistance IPA.
Oh.
We have Labor Lager, or the Resistance Pilsner beer, available at several Illinois locations, including Armanetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Pineapple and Company in North Riverside, Lions Beverage Depot in Arlington Heights, and MP's Liquor Wine and Beer in North Aurora. And you can find a full list of the Chicagoland locations by visiting MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. And as always, please vote and drink responsibly. And we also have, there's also Nope Seltzer, which is really good.
Oh, really?
It's non-alcoholic. So
okay.
You can mix it with something if you need that.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have. And I also encourage you, while you're at MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to sign up for the newsletter and for his all of his emails, so you can stay up to date on available products. You can purchase products for shipment on the website. And I also am a monthly contributor as a columnist for his newsletter. So there you go. Mike Crowley joins us in studio, the reviewer for YPAReviews.com. Again, that's YPAReviews.com. It stands for You'll Probably Agree Reviews. Mm-hmm. And he's sharing his top 10 list with us. All right. I wish I had a drum roll, but coming in at number 10, what's your number 10 movie?
Dune Part 2.
Ooh, Dune Part 2. A lot of sand in that movie.
Oh, yeah. And, you know what? I wish I got one of those popcorn buckets that had the sandworm in it. But they were all out when I tried to get them.
They had popcorn buckets with sandworms in them?
Yeah, it was like the popcorn bucket was a sandworm, and you put your hand in the worm to get the popcorn.
Okay.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird popcorn bucket, but there's like another one, Deadpool Wolverine had like a silly one where it was very sexual, kind of the popcorn bucket.
Oh. Well,
yeah.
Oh.
It looks like, it's just like Wolverine's mouth, and you put your hand in there.
Well, you know what? You got to get people back to the theater somehow, right? So I guess if it's a collector's popcorn bucket, all right.
The coolest popcorn bucket is the anniversary for Batman, because like you turn it on and it projects the bat signal.
Come on,
and you get the bat signal like on your like wall wherever you want to put it.
When was the anniversary?
That was months ago. But I just remember I was like, I got to get that popcorn bucket when it comes out, and I did, and I love that bucket. It's awesome.
Where do people go to know where the promotions are? Like, they should be on their Fandango and find out where the
like I just would check the like AMC website, and because they would have all the buckets and stuff like that when you go in there.
All right,
yeah, but it's delicious. But yeah, Dune Part 2, it's a great sequel where it feels like this is. I never read the book. From what my understanding is, it captured what the book was trying to say.
Okay,
because Paul Atreides, played by Timothée Chalamet, he's kind of like a Mary Sue in the movie. He's smarter than everyone. He wins in every fight. He outsmarts people constantly. But he has a major flaw, which is you give someone that much power, they're able to bring about great destruction. They end up kind of creating a dictatorship. And what happens with Paul is that he ends up taking all that power that he has and then asserting himself, leading people into war rather than peace and prosperity, which is what Paul Atreides did in the original David Lynch film. You know,
Okay.
Everyone came together and it was peaceful and it was great and harmony and all that. Here, it's not like that. Paul, basically starts the beginning of a war, and it kind of gears you up for Dune Messiah. And I've heard Dune Messiah gets really weird, so I'm interested to see.
Are they already in production for the next movie?
No, Denis Villeneuve is taking a break from it.
Okay.
So he can basically mentally keep himself together. But I wouldn't be surprised that at one point, like, he's already contracted to make one, and they haven't said anything yet.
Okay.
But I hope that there is a Dune Messiah. I want to see how crazy stuff gets, and because basically the feeling you get by the end of Dune Part 2 is things are going to go real bad.
No kidding.
And yeah, he's starting a holy war and everything like that. He's like demanding people like kneel to him. It's That's good stuff.
Okay, so Dune 2 is number 10.
Yeah.
Mike Crowley's top 10 of the year. What's number 9?
Number 9 is Sing Sing. It's a movie about these guys who take this theater program, and they're guys who are in prison, and it's them basically finding a way to express themselves. It's sort of a release. Because in prison, you're not allowed to be vulnerable. Everyone's got to be hard and tough, so they can survive. And here, it's about taking that vulnerability and allowing it to be in your life and allowing yourself to really give into this program to hopefully find something through the dramatic arts that connects to you. And it's a real program that they do in these prisons, the Sing Sing program.
Okay.
And there's no singing in the movie. Just to let you guys know, when I walked into the film, I thought there was going to be singing, and it was completely the opposite. Thank God. But yeah, it was a movie I saw a long time ago, and I didn't quite remember that much. But then I saw it again, and then I said, okay, yeah, this is making it in the top 10. It almost didn't make it. Nosferatu almost took its place, but it made it in there.
Excellent. I'm curious about this movie. I've not heard anything about Sing Sing.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's
and Coleman Domingo is fantastic.
Oh yeah, Coleman Domingo is like in everything. He's gonna be playing Michael Jackson's dad in a movie coming up.
Oh boy.
Yeah, wow. No, that's gonna be a rough role.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I can't wait for that film.
All right, folks. So number 9 is Sing Sing, which sounds like a great movie. I'm excited to see this. A theater group escapes the reality of incarceration through the creativity of staging a play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
fantastic.
They make a play, and basically with the amount of plays that they do, they find a way to talk to each other that doesn't involve hatred. It's a movie about using love to get to heal yourself in life.
Great.
And it's about finding it's about people who are forgotten about, who are rejected from society, who find a way to find some healing within themselves that they can be part of a community again.
That's fantastic.
It's beautiful.
I love that. That's number 9, Sing Sing. What's number 8? I feel like I need a drum roll.
Yeah. Number 8 is His Three Daughters. It's the perfect mix of depressing and uplifting.
That sounds like my life. The perfect mix of depressing and uplifting. Yes.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's like 2025. Yeah, it's like His Three Daughters. It's a story about this guy who's an ailing father who's in hospice, and all 3 of his daughters come in to basically be with him for the last days of his life and to help treat him and take care of him.
Okay.
And you got like 3 major female cast members. You got Carrie Coon, who's kind of like the sister that's real strict on everyone and real mean to them, but she means well. She's
controlling. She's a control freak.
She's very, very much so. Very much a control freak. You have Elizabeth Olsen, who's Christina, who she's kind of like she's like a yogi. She's kind of like a free-spirited woman, but she can't get her mind off of her kids because she had to leave town to be with her father, to be with her kids, and all she does is just think about him constantly, again and again and again. She gets homesick, I guess you could say. But the real star of the show is Natasha Lyonne.
She is so captivating and so freaking talented. I love Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad that she's been around for so many years.
Yeah.
I thought after so many years they're going to be like, oh, well, you're no longer what we need. But no, luckily she's still around, and yeah, she's great at it. She's like the daughter who's never left home before. Mm-hmm. Like she smokes weed all the time, and she just hangs out at her dad's house. But we gain a very profound understanding of her character, Rachel, in the movie, and she ends up being the one who we end up sympathizing with the most. And yeah, she was fantastic in it. And it's a movie that it's not really it's a drama. It's heavy because it is about hospice and it is about death, but it also has some funny moments in it, especially with Natasha Lyonne. Usually when she's smoking weed outside the apartment and she's not supposed to, and the security guy is friends with her and tells her don't do that, but she does it anyways. And yeah, it's a grand time. I don't know if I would call it a grand time, but it's a grand movie.
Right. I love it. Okay, I love it. There are movies still being made that are about just personal stories.
Yeah, it's just people and their families, and it's just these three people, these like four people, and it's within this little home or this little apartment.
Yep.
But it held my attention the whole time. Now that I think about it, I love the way it was shot too, because there's no like over the shoulder shots. I always think the most boring way to ever shoot a movie is when you have a wide shot with two over the shoulders. It's so easy to film it. Here, usually the camera's flat on somebody, so you can really see what they're going through on their face.
Right.
And it is very selective with how they position this camera, probably because it's just in this little apartment. But the way they shoot it by kind of giving each character like a profile shot is really impressive stuff, and it really gets you into their heads. And it's just beautifully made. I remember I saw that like months ago. I think it was September. September 5th is when my review for it came up, and yeah, one of my friends who goes to the premieres with me, he said like, "Oh yeah, it's really good. Wait till you see it," and he was right about that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to that too. Like I said, depressing and what was the other word?
Oh, uplifting. Because in the end they find some sort of the consolation with each other.
Right. I love that. All right. So that is his three daughters.
Yeah,
right?
And then number 7 is Nickel Boys. And yeah, this movie's really interesting. It's about a real academy. I don't know if it was called Nickel Academy or not. I think it was some completely different name. And it was based on this guy's experience when he went there. It was like a detention center for kids. And basically, like, what happens to the main character is he's the main character in the movie. He's like the model citizen. He gets good grades. He, I think he's sort of athletic, if I vaguely remember that.
Okay.
But basically, he's like, he checks off all the boxes. He's a good son, sweet kid, but he happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he gets thrown in this detention center. And because he's not a white kid, he gets treated appallingly. And it's a place where all these kids who are black just get treated like absolute dirt. Like there's a scene where these kids go into a room and you can hear something going on in there, and what's going on in there because the teacher who's taking him in, he takes off his wedding ring and puts his finger in his mouth, and we know where that finger's going to go. And he takes him in the room, and to hide the screaming in the other room, they blast the air conditioning, and it's a really effective scene. And the whole movie, the way it's shot, is that a real bug on there? Oh no, I just noticed that.
The cicadas.
Yeah.
Cicadas in the studios.
I just noticed that. But the way it's shot is through a first-person perspective. So, like, you see everything through their eyes, like literally. Like, the camera is their view. And it's a really interesting road to take with that. Because, it's literally like, okay, you want to be in someone else's shoes? Well, here you are.
Right.
You are in their goggles. And but I would say there was a couple flaws in the film. There were a couple plot holes. I wanted to see how the main character wound up in that academy, because you see he gets a hitchhike from this guy on the road, and then the guy he's getting hitchhiked from gets pulled over, and then he tells him like, all right, get ready, or something like that. And like this guy probably shot the cop or something like that. Who knows what happened?
Yikes.
Yeah, but...
So, folks, this is based on a book by Colson Whitehead, which he won the Pulitzer Prize for. He also wrote a book on the Underground Railroad. But The Nickel Boys is still available to read if you want to read it before, or it's just something for folks to know. Pulitzer Prize winner, national bestseller. So that's I've never heard of Colson Whitehead. Now I want to read his books.
Yeah, I want to read about the actual Academy and all the horrors that went on in there.
And this is a true story. It's based on true stories. This reform school operated for 111 years and warped the lives of thousands of children. So that's great that this story is being told, and it sounds like it's a remarkable movie.
Yeah, it was something that you didn't quite. It's not like something I've seen before. I haven't seen a movie take the camera and make it like... I mean, I've seen movies that do that, where like the camera is a person's viewpoint, but not for like an over 2-hour film.
Right.
And eventually it does break that style, especially when you meet one of the other characters who kind of becomes best friends with the protagonist of the film. But usually it stays within their headspace. There is one part of the film that's a little weird where like you see our main character in modern day, but you never see his face. The camera's just like in the back of his head.
Right.
And it's kind of like that viewpoint you would get from like a video game when you're in the back of someone's head. So I'm just watching it and I'm like, do I need a controller right now? Do I press X to reply to the guy? But yeah, I mean, but still, talk about a movie that really wants you to feel like, you're in someone's life. Right. And that movie pretty much pulls it off very well.
Excellent. One more before we take a break.
Sure. Number 6 is The Wild Robot. And I got to say, this is a grand year for animated films. And The Wild Robot is no exception. Everybody is loving this film. I liked it a lot, and it wound up in one of my top 10 because I did remember it so well, and I did get the chance to be lucky enough to see it twice. And, I mean, it's this movie where there's this robot. She, her like package that she's delivered in crushes this bird's nest and it kills like this bird's family. So she ends up raising the bird where like she didn't mean to do it. She just got washed ashore and, it got crushed. And Lupita Nyong'o voices the robot, and Kit Connor voices the bird that she takes care of and becomes like a mother to, and the name of the bird is Bright Bill. And then there's Pedro Pascal, who plays like the fox, who's sort of like, he's kind of like the wise, like fun creature. Like, who is that guy in The Lion King, like the monkey who tells everyone like the story of Mufasa and all that?
I can never remember it. I was like in between the ages. Like I didn't have kids yet, and I was too old to appreciate or enjoy that much of the. Yeah. So I just remember that. I think it wasn't
Rafiki,
like
I think his
Matthew
name was.
Broderick and Nathan Lane's voices were.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see. The Rafiki, right? Rafiki.
Yeah, Rafiki. Yeah, he was kind of like the Rafiki of the movie, Pedro Pascal. But it's like it's a movie about nature versus the evil corporations that want to destroy everything. Because that robot is just there to survey the land that they're going to end up taking over and using for themselves. And of course, they try not to allow that to happen. The robot, as she becomes like a mother to this kid, ends up learning to love the wild and to live in there and to become sort of a uplifting figure to people over there.
Doesn't she ever need any
or
maintenance?
Animals over
She doesn't
there.
ever need like oil.
That's what I always wondered. I'm like, how's her battery not running out?
Exactly.
If she's
like,
in the middle
is she
of the...
solar powered? Is she?
Yeah, that's got to be it. Yeah,
right, I'd imagine. I was thinking, especially if there's a lot of debris getting into her, cogs.
yeah, exactly. And she can kind of do everything. It's like one of those robots that has like a million functions.
Right.
It's like R2-D2. Like all of a sudden in episode 2, he's like flying, and I'm like, wait, he can fly now?
And exactly right. Oh, they changed the rules. We're hanging out with Mike Crowley, the reviewer for You'll Probably Agree Reviews. That's YPAReviews.com. And we'll come back with the rest of his list. We've got 5 more to go of his top 10 for 2024. And I haven't heard of a single one of these movies, so I have not been paying attention. So.
You haven't heard of The Wild Robot? That's a good one.
I haven't heard of any. I've not been paying attention. I'm going to see a lot of movies in the next few months. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. Don't forget, in a few minutes, we're giving away another gift card for Fry the Coop on WCPT.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue with Mike Crowley's list of the best movies of 2024. And before we continue with the rest of the list, I want to thank Mark for your kind comment. This is a great segment, Patti. So thank you so much for that. He said, I have a great way of finding interesting guests like you and Elliot and Adam. I don't know if you know that Elliot Serrano is known as the king of geeks.
Oh, really?
And Adam is also a geek, so can put you in the category of geek. I'm a dork. I'm not a geek.
What's the difference between a dork and a geek?
A dork is also very socially awkward, but I'm not as well informed as you. Like, you have an in-depth understanding of like films and filmmaking and things like that. That makes you so it makes you more of a geek than a dork. So I have like a sort of a superficial understanding of a lot of, like, I know a little bit about a lot, but not a lot about a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of like me being a cinephile. People are like, oh, have you seen Godard's films? They're amazing. And I'm like, sure.
Sure. So it's ypareviews.com to find Mike Crowley's list of the top 10 movies of 2024, as well as the rest of the reviews he's done throughout the years, including the other movies. We mentioned a couple that didn't quite make the top 10, but also great movies. Let me, before we go on, I want to let folks know that Mike Crowley has chosen caller number 2 to be the winner. So caller number 2 for a gift card for Fry the Coop. That's your chance to win a Fry the Coop, which is the destination for hot chicken in Chicago and the Chicagoland area, giving a Southern original Midwest touch, whether you want heat or no heat. Are you a heat guy or no heat guy?
Me, I like heat.
You like heat? I used to. I got screwed over at a holiday party. Someone put ghost peppers on my pizza. I haven't been able to handle heat. I'm okay. Featuring chicken sandwiches, tenders, chicken and waffles, and now nuggets, all delivering happiness in each crunchy bite. Proudly not using seed oils, frying all of their menu items in 100% tallow beef tallow, not tallow beef. It's the other way around. Beef tallow. Stop by Fry the Coop today at one of its many locations. You can visit one in Oak Lawn, Chicago, Elmhurst, Darien, Prospect Heights, Tinley Park, and Bolingbrook. Again, you can have no heat, mild, medium, hot, or crazy insanity, maybe, Mike.
Oh, crazy insanity.
Crazy insanity. Yeah. I'll be at the lower end of that spectrum.
That's, I'm sure the doctor, you see the doctor, and he's like, you had the crazy insanity, didn't you?
Exactly. Now, to celebrate the holidays, Fry the Coop gave WCPT $25 gift cards as a little gift to you. So please give us a call, 773-763-9278. Caller number 2 for your chance to win. Contests running on WCPT are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. One entry per person, one winner per household. Void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win once every 30 days. Complete rules are available on our website at WCPT820.com by clicking the contest tab. All right, let's continue with our movie reviews here. So coming in at number 5, this is exciting.
Number 5 is A Different Man.
Okay.
And I love this movie because it's a movie where Sebastian Stan, first off, he's been taking a lot of like kind of risky roles lately. You know, A Different Man is a movie where he is born with physical differences, I guess you could say. You know, he looks, you know, he has like a lot of tumors on his face and stuff like that, benign ones, and
like the Elephant Man.
Yeah, exactly. And and basically, what happens in this movie is that he goes through this miracle surgery where he looks like a normal person, but then he meets this guy who actually is physically different, played by Adam Pearson, who basically, this guy has charisma and charm and all these things that Sebastian Stan's character doesn't have. And because of that, when Sebastian Stan sees this guy who had the same sort of physical differences that he did, but is getting everything in life, he realizes that the problem in life wasn't his face, it was him.
Ooh.
And he realized that he was just relying on people's sympathy for him to get him by. And you realize he's just like this pathetic, like, sad little man.
Work on yourself, is what the movie's telling you.
Yeah, exactly.
Work on yourself.
Exactly. And it's just great where it's not a movie where we feel bad for the person, you know, like we do in the beginning, but as the film goes on, you're just kind of like, screw this guy. Like, he can't handle it when someone who looks the way he did is getting everything that he wanted. And I understand why he feels that way, and I sympathize with that, but at the same time, it's taking a protagonist and making making them unlikable, where usually they would be likable. And I like movies about unlikable protagonists. Like There Will Be Blood is one of my favorite films, and that's about an abhorrent protagonist. Wow. But there's something just so fascinating about them when they're more layered and they're more flawed than, someone who's just like an angel throughout the film. Like, I like my Superman. He's an angel. Unless his Man of Steel and he destroys half of Metropolis. Right. Yeah. But I like a movie that has a more complex sort of look at the human condition. And that film definitely had a complex look at a human being in that one.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
So then number 4 is Flow. And while The Wild Robot may be favored to win the Best Animated Feature Oscar, this film from Latvia called Flow has come in to knock the robot off her pedestal.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, because this movie is about this cat who has to survive the world during a global crisis. A huge flood comes in and destroys everything around her. And earlier in the film, she gets chased by a group of dogs. And then you find all these animals have to work together to survive this flood. Oh, God. So all their differences, all their little cliques, all their tribalism has to be thrown out the window. So all of them can solve a global crisis or figure out how to survive one. And you know what? That movie's pretty much, that's pretty much a euphemism for America and where we are when it comes to global warming and how we're supposed to work with one another instead of, push each other away and say that, no, you're wrong, global warming is fake because Fox News told me so.
Right. Yep. So this is a Latvian movie?
Yeah, but there's no dialogue in it. There's not a single word uttered. They're just animals who act like animals in the film.
And it's called
Flow.
Flow. Okay.
Yeah.
The movie is Flow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I don't know where it's playing. I think it's playing in theaters now, actually.
Flow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was playing in theaters when I interviewed the director a couple weeks back.
It says, one review says it's animation perfection.
Perfection. Well, it's funny. It looks a lot like a Team Eco game.
Okay.
Which, they did this game called The Last Guardian, which isn't that great. But they also did Shadows of the Colossus, which is incredible. And, of course, they made the game Eco. And it's kind of like this mixture of, cel-shaded characters where they look kind of cartoony.
Right.
And they mix it with, a fully 3D environment. But it still has, an animation look to it. And it's great to finally see, an animated film that doesn't look like every other animated film.
Wow.
It has a certain style to it through its cell shading and 3D modeling that makes it stand out where you go, oh, that's Flow, instead of just seeing it and being like, oh, it's one of Disney's various musicals, like Encanto, which I don't know why everyone loved it, but I didn't. Same with Luca. I didn't love that one either.
Okay. All right, so that was number 4?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so number 3.
So number 3 is Anora, and this is a movie from director Sean Baker. He did Tangerine before, and he really has a thing about movies featuring deadbeat moms and sex workers.
Okay.
Yeah, but this movie is about a sex worker. Her name is Annie. She's a stripper, and she has people pay her money for fun time. And when meeting a client who looks like he's in his teens, Annie has sex with him, then marries him because his dad is a rich oligarch. So when news of her last minute Vegas marriage breaks out, everything just goes insane. Everything that you could imagine goes wrong, does go wrong. And the great thing about Sean Baker's movies is that he'll take a character like Annie, who usually is unwatchable, and hey, in this film, she is annoying. A lot of her dialogue, she's just yelling F you and F that, and throughout the film. But we do feel something for her, probably because she's really poor. But when it gets to that final moments of the film, I would like to know what everyone's reaction is to that, because it takes a big swing at the end, but it means a lot. It's very sexually driven, the ending, but there's a reason behind the sex.
Wow.
So, yeah. And
this looks like a breakout role for this young actress too.
Mikey Madison, is that it? Hey, I got it right. You see, it's easy to remember her name when it's close to mine, Mikey.
Mikey.
Yeah, hey Mikey, that's what they would call me when I was a kid. Let Mikey try it. You know, what were those old commercials where they would have the kids?
It was Chex Mix.
Yeah.
Chex Mix. Chex cereal. Was it Chex? Mm-hmm. No, it was Life cereal. No, wait. Mikey,
it was some cereal.
Mikey will eat it. He'll eat anything. Hold on. Anyway, okay, so that's number 3 was Nora.
So then number 2 is The Brutalist. And whoever thought a filmmaker could make a movie about architecture so fascinating? Well, the Brady Corbet, the director of this film, does that in a film with a little bit of sex to help spice things up, but also he makes this 3.5-hour epic that's about an immigrant who comes in this country. He flees away from the Nazis, and he ends up going from rags to, well, better rags. But he ends up constructing this huge church for this American businessman, played by Guy Pearce, who's not an American, but he does an incredible job, and I hope he gets the Best Actor nomination for the Academy Awards. And it's a film about how we don't really treat our immigrants that great. You know, they give us these amazing things. This guy, Laszlo Toth, gave us this incredible architecture. He constructs like this huge church for this guy, and the church connects to like a courtyard and a tennis court, but really the church is the main thing. Okay. And it's really about how we ended up reshaping sort of like the places that we go for worship in America through brutalistic architecture, because it has these huge towering walls in the church, and at the ceiling, the light, when the sun comes to a certain point, it forms the cross through the light. It's beautiful. And I never thought I'd get into that, but when I'm watching this, I'm like, why aren't I more into architecture? This stuff is fascinating. The way the movie looks, it looks like a mixture between The Godfather Part 2 and Once Upon a Time in America, and I think it's because they actually shot it on film. Right. Where everything is shot digitally these days. Yeah. This movie shot on celluloid, and I think it's called Cinerama or something like that, but the way the film is pushed, it goes sideways, so never mind. And that's going to get way too technical, and people have no idea what I'm talking about, but let's just say it looks gorgeous, and nothing beats the look of film. You know, like if you see a movie shot on digital, it looks artificial. It looks like it's trying to copy what film is doing. Now, it does have its advantages. It can capture more light than film can, you know, and there are some movies that are impossible to make, you know, on film that they were done on digital. Not impossible, but they won't give you the same sort of results. And there are movies made on film that you can't get on digital.
And then, again, this is number 3?
Yeah, this is number 2.
Number 2.
Brutalist.
The Brutalist. The Brutalist, folks. So let me see if I can do this. Hold on. I just want to be funny.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have it. It's not working.
Oh, darn. Were you going to play a sound effect?
No. Oh, hold on. Let me see if I got it. Let me see. Nope, it didn't come up on the board. I was going to play the, he likes it. He really likes it.
Oh, he likes it.
I think we should do that for your movie reviews. Mikey likes it.
And then when I don't like it.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. I'll figure that out. So the Brutalist is number 2. So let's take a quick break here and come back with
3.5 hour movie that doesn't feel like 3.5 hours.
That's good to know. We'll take a quick break here, and we will come back with Mikey's number 1 pick, Mike Crowley's number 1 pick for 2024. After this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Thank you so much for joining us as we round out the top 10 list that Mike Crowley is sharing with us. YPA Reviews. It's YPAReviews.com. You'll probably agree, reviews. So coming in at number 1.
Number 1 is a movie the Academy probably won't vote for, but it won my vote, and that is The Substance.
So I asked you this when you came in.
I said that's why I said it was going to take a while to get to that one, because it's my number 1.
It's The Substance.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a very dark movie.
It's crazy. It is batsy.
Well, good editing there, by the way. Nice. I appreciate that. Okay, so tell us about The Substance.
All right, so The Substance is a movie about Demi Moore, where she's this aging actress, and people just don't want us to, you know, they're not interested in her anymore because she's older. So she takes this underground illegal drug that creates like a younger version of her. And through that younger version, she gets to live the life she wants to live.
With all the wisdom and experience that she's had.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't think they share that conscious. And soon, both these versions, the current her and the new her, they get in their heads with each other, and the movie goes nuts. It's a mixture between like a David Cronenberg body horror film with John Carpenter's The Thing and Requiem for a Dream.
Good golly.
With a little bit of The Shining sprinkled in.
Ooh.
And a lot of people are saying, oh, this movie's not that original. It's just copying what other films do. And I'm like, okay, yes, that is true. But kind of like when I saw The Joker, it's like I know this movie is heavily borrowing from Martin Scorsese. And I know not the substance, but The Joker was. And the substance heavily borrows from virtually everything. But it's making me feel what the movie's supposed to make you feel. Right. You're supposed to feel like, what if you're a woman and you're at a certain age where all of a sudden people hold you to this unrealistic body standard, and what lengths will you go to stay relevant?
Right.
And this movie, it's definitely a damnation against Hollywood, but it's a roller coaster of emotion. You'll be grossed out. You'll be laughing. You'll be cringing. It's not a teardroppy film, but that doesn't matter. I like movies that take big swings at this, take big risks, and pays off enormously. Okay. And yeah, it is a roller coaster of emotion. The Substance, my number one film of the year. It might not win Best Picture, but it's mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this. If you missed any of the top 10 and you want to go back and read more about them, you can go to ypareviews.com. And Mike has his video coming out soon on YouTube for YPA Reviews, correct?
Yeah, I'll let you guys know when it's up there because I never tell anybody when something's coming out until it's ready to go out. But no, don't worry, you're good. You're good.
Sorry. That was what I should have asked if it was okay to
No, it's okay. Yeah. No, but I just filmed it today. I filmed my top 10 movies today.
Okay.
And, it came out pretty well. I had my teleprompter to help me do it because I cannot I cannot go off script to save my life. So,
well, we appreciate you coming in and sharing your top 10 list. I have to run, but go to ypareviews.com. Mike, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And as award season starts to ramp up, I know that we'll have a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Thank you, Lady B. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'll be back tomorrow. And we are going to check with our friends in New Orleans. And we have a great show lined up for you tomorrow. So thank you so much. Randy Rhodes is up next, followed by Matt McNeil. Bye, everybody. Sorry I'm late.